It's fitting the company that popularized the phablet would be the one to perfect it. The hardware of the Galaxy Note 7 is familiar, and that isn't a bad thing. It's made of glass and metal like its S7 brethren, the S6, and the Note 5, which this phone directly succeeds. That means it feels phenomenal in the hand, but is also extremely reflective, a serious fingerprint magnet, and quite slippery. But for all that is the same, for all that this device shares with the S7 Edge, there are some important improvements to the Note line this year. The new design brings a dual curved screen, a shape that is mirrored on the device's backside to maximize comfort and usability. Charging is now done through a USB Type-C port on the bottom, a first for Samsung phones, and the Note 7 plus the S Pen are now IP68 water resistant, just like the S7 phones from earlier this year. All of this adds up to equal the best designed, most refined phablet or large phone ever made. The Note 7 is the culmination of years of work by Samsung, and that's evident from the first second you hold the device, and the fact that you'll never want to put it down. There is so much excellence in the Note 7 hardware, like the unsurprisingly gorgeous 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display, which offers deep blacks and vibrant colors, plus the illusion of a bezel-less display thanks to the dual curves design. It's great for all situations, watching Netflix or YouTube, gaming, or just browsing Reddit. But for all that hardware excellence, there are a few letdowns. Let's start with the speaker. It's dismal. It has poor sound and even worse placement that allows it to easily be covered. The fingerprint scanner is next, though it's not nearly as bad as the speaker. It's just surprisingly sluggish and inaccurate at times, especially for a phone of this magnitude. It's not bad enough to swear off using, but it is a far cry from zippier scanners like those on the Moto Z and both iPhones. Samsung tried to lighten the fingerprint scanner's load by adding a new way to unlock your phone this year with the iris scanner. It's a neat feature that is just as quick as the fingerprint reader when it works, but the issue is that it takes some finagling to get it to work, like holding the device close enough to your face and opening your eyes wide enough for it to recognize your irises. For the most part, the iris scanner is not quick enough to choose it over your fingerprint, and doesn't work in enough situations without you having to make adjustments for it to be a viable option. It is cool though. Finally, and this is the smallest nitpick in the world, but for a phone that has near perfect hardware, the button placement is less than ideal. This is mostly a gripe from a person with smaller hands, but I desperately wish Samsung would buck its design history and put the power and volume buttons on the same side. With the volume on the left and the power on the right, it's an uncomfortable stretch for me. In the end, though, all of these qualms are no more than half-serious complaints. Rarely did they rear their heads in an ugly way during my time with the device. The bottom line is that the Note 7 is an incredible machine from a hardware perspective, and an absolute joy to look at. For years, it was clear that Samsung was one of the best smartphone manufacturers, but also one that left ample room for improvement on both the hardware and software sides. Since the S6, Samsung's hardware has been top-notch, and it's reached a peak with the Note 7, but the software still has some work to do. To Samsung's credit, the design of TouchWiz has improved immensely in the last several years. And while there are still too many gimmicky features and way too many settings, for the most part, the software stays out of the way, and you can even customize the look if you want to with various themes. There is, of course, carrier bloatware to deal with, which came courtesy of T-Mobile on our review unit. It is an absolute annoyance for sure, but to T-Mobile's credit, most of the apps here were easily hidden and never made themselves obvious if you didn't want them to. There are a few new software features at work on the Note 7, but most of them aren't particularly noteworthy and are rather forgettable. However, the new curved design brings the addition of the Edge panel to the Note for the first time. Unfortunately, that's not anything to get excited about. Like with the S7 Edge, the Edge concept is a decent idea that fails to live up to its potential. Sadly, Samsung didn't add any new features to the Edge panel on the Note 7, and I quickly found it to be pretty useless. Once again, the curved screen offers practical improvement on the hardware side, like a better feel in the hand for a device of this size, but offers very little on the software side. Being a Note device, the 7 of course comes with an S Pen, and in 2016, the S Pen is better than ever with improved hardware and several new interesting features, like Glance, which is a sort of multitasking and a gift-making tool that is fun and easy to use. I have never been a notebook guy, and thus the idea of a stylus on a phone has never struck me as a killer feature. Even with its improvements, I rarely felt the urge to pull out the S Pen unless I wanted to quickly write a note or list, which you can do without even turning on the screen, a carryover feature from last year that remains one of the device's best. Samsung has done a fair job to make the S Pen a tool for all kinds of people, and while it wasn't ever really necessary for me, I liked knowing it was there in case I did ever want to use it. That's kind of the whole story of the software, actually. Unlike past versions of TouchWiz, this iteration isn't in your face so much, but there are a bevy of features and options there if you want to tinker with them. Performance, which has oddly become a controversial issue around this phone, was generally excellent for me. Various benchmarks have noted the device as significantly slower than competition, and while I can't say I didn't ever experience slowdowns, they usually came from small things like a sluggish animation here or there, or a bad transition from the lock screen. It didn't happen constantly, but did happen enough to be slightly concerning for a phone no more than a month old. Still, in all my real-world testing, the occasional hiccups were not enough to infuriate. The Note 7 flew through multiple apps, gaming, streaming media, and more the way you would expect a phone of this caliber to. And I would expect it to handle anything you'd want it to do just fine. Battery life was average for a phone of this size. The 3500 milliamp hour battery gave me about 4 hours of screen on time, and more than enough juice to last a full day. Though I would love to see Samsung boost the battery on the Note line, but at least it comes with more than most flagship phones. It's also fairly quick to charge, provided it doesn't explode, which thankfully mine didn't. The camera of the Note 7 is the same as that on the S7 and S7 Edge, and is thus excellent. Easily one of the best, if not the absolute best camera on a smartphone to date. I am, by rule, not one to take pictures. I am not a person that digitally scrapbooks my life, and I actually have to make an effort to take photos when I review a phone because it's usually the last thing on my mind. The camera on the Note 7 is so good, and the software is so responsive and full-featured that I actually looked for opportunities to take more photos during my time with the device, and I greatly enjoyed doing so. I could spout many words about the quality of the Note 7's photos, but I'll just let them speak for themselves. It's a shame that the conversation surrounding the Note 7 has turned to the benchmark scores and the unfortunate recall, because this is one of the best phones of 2016, perhaps Samsung's best ever, and overall one of the best phones ever made. It's the result of years of experimentation and refinement, an impeccably made device with absurdly good hardware, sophisticated software, and an outstanding camera. If it weren't for the recall, I would tell you to go buy this phone right now. Hell, even with the recall, I would still say this is the next phone you should buy. Just make sure the battery has been replaced. Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned to Pace Tech for more coverage of today's best technology.